We want to welcome Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly, who joins us from Oceanside, California, following a tour of the U.S.-Mexican border. Mr. Secretary, I want to start with the government, which is going to run out of money next week. One of the items of debate is the president wants money for the border wall. Is a border wall so important right now that it's worth risking a government shutdown?
Well, I certainly think the border wall is essential, as do almost everyone that lives along the border. So yes, I think it's certainly worth hard negotiation over. We have tremendous threats, whether it's drugs, people, potential terrorists coming up from the south, and some type of a barrier, an effective barrier, backed up by the brave and very effective men and women of DHS, I believe is essential.
Of all the possible solutions to deal with the illegal immigration problem, is the border wall the number one thing you would pick if you could pick any solution?
Well, there's no silver bullet solution to any of this. I really do wish that the Congress would really join together in a bipartisan way and figure out these incredibly complex immigration laws and make some decisions on how to deal with those that are here illegally in behaving themselves. But a border wall, security wall, technology, patrolling, all of that's very effective. But just as effective, I think, and just as important, is us helping reduce the amount of crime in Mexico and Central America because of the drug demand in our country. That is really the number one fuel of the problem.
Is there something, based on your tour there, that the members of Congress should see or should know to move a little faster on the legislation you'd like to see them putting forward?
I don't think there's an awful lot that gets solved very well in Washington, D.C. But if you come out here, as I do, as I say, to kick the tires and maybe take a look behind the dumpsters and talk to the people that they're actually doing the work on the border, they will tell you, that is to say, the Customs and Border Protection people, ICE people, local law enforcement, they will tell you a wall of some type is essential to the work that they do. That combined with policies inside the United States that no longer make it absolute that if you get here illegally, you'll be able to stay. My appeal to the folks in Mexico, Central America, other places like that is don't waste your money and come here, because we're going to pick you up and we're going to send you back home. On top of that, this network that they travel on is terribly, terribly dangerous and abusive. To me, this is a human rights issue, to keep people in their homes, in their communities in Central America, in other parts of the world.
Let me ask you about those who are here. They've broken the law by being in the United States illegally, but they are not in the category, as the president called them, of being bad dudes. The Washington Post says that number of people who are just here illegally but have broken no other law has increased, has doubled since the president has been in office. So it sounds like, they don't fit in the category of bad dudes, but they're being deported anyway.
The way we are doing our business is that the ICE officials will establish or will go after targeted individuals, develop target packages, and then go after them. Now, if people who are here illegally fall into our hands, incidental to those knock and talks, as an example, just the other day I was talking to some ICE agents up in El Paso, and they said, typically when they go into these homes or these places looking for the person that they've targeted, there'll oftentimes be 5, 6, 7 other people. And of course, by the way they do their jobs, they then ask those people who they are, and if they can't produce some form of proof that they're here legally or that they're U.S. citizens, then they could be taken into custody. So as police officers, they simply can't turn a blind eye to the lawbreakers. In every case, we are targeting people who are here, A, illegally, and B, have broken other laws.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not targeting them, but because they broke a law by being here, they would be suitable for deportation.
It's more than not sounds like. It's more than not sounds like, John. We are not doing that. But again, people fall into our hands incidentally that we have no choice in most cases but to go ahead and put in the system. Okay. But I think that system is years long.
Right. Give me your Homeland Security assessment of the North Korean threat.
Well, so long as they're on the other side of the world without a missile and a nuclear weapon to deliver against the United States, they're not much threat right now, except in the world of cyber. They're pretty aggressive when they want to be in cyber. But the minute they get, John, the instant they get a missile that can reach the United States, and they have a weaponized atomic device, nuclear device on it, we are at grave risk as a nation.
In recent Paris attack, a policeman was killed. Is there anything in the Paris attack that sends any lessons about U.S. policy or policy that should be put in place?
There's so many aspects of this terrorist thing. Obviously, you get the homegrown terrorists. I don't know how to stop that. I don't know how to detect that. You got other terrorist threats that come across the border. I believe in the case of the murderer of in the Paris shooting, I believe he was homegrown. But again, there are so many threats that come in from across border, and it's essential, absolutely, to control one's border. The other thing, John, that has me, keeps me literally awake at night is the threat against aviation. We know that would be the Super Bowl for the terrorists to knock down an airplane in flight, particularly if it was full of Americans. We have taken measures overseas to reduce that threat, but it's something I watch every day, ask 4 or 5 times a day, because there are a number of plots that we're watching very, very closely. They're very sophisticated. They're very threatening. And the number one thing in my mind is to protect the American people. So we'll do that.
I just want to follow up, Mr. Secretary. You said on the homegrown threat, a lot of people think that is the biggest threat. It's part of the San Bernardino shooting, a part of the Boston bombing. But you said you don't know how to stop that. If that's the biggest threat and you don't know how to stop it, that seems like a big problem.
It is a big problem. Depending on where you sit is where you stand on this. It is a big threat. Is it the number one threat? I think it's the most common threat. Unfortunately, there are other similar type terrorist threats that could come from outside the border. The CIA, NSA, all the great men and women of DOD are doing a great job keeping them away from the homeland. But again, I focus on this aviation threat as something that is very real, and if they're successful, they're going to kill hundreds and hundreds of people in one fell swoop. So I think the appeal I would make on the homegrown threat is if you see something, say something, whether you're a parent, a sibling, an imam, and this extends, frankly, John, to white supremacists and that kind of terrorism as well. If you see a young man or a young woman going down that path where they're always on these kind of websites or saying things at church or in a mosque that are clearly disturbing, then tell someone about it so that we can help that kid, young man or woman, before they break the law.
All right, Secretary John Kelly, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, John.